She woke up in the quiet darkness of her small apartment, the city outside bustling, unaware of the storm of thoughts inside her mind. She had nothing but a dream, a tiny spark that refused to die, a fire she carried silently in her heart, a fire that told her to keep going even when everyone else doubted, even when the world seemed to whisper that she could not. She rolled out of bed, her feet touching the cold floor, and she remembered the nights she had cried alone when fear and uncertainty had threatened to swallow her whole. But she had survived, and that survival had given her a strength no one could take away. She brewed her coffee, the bitter taste a reminder of how hard life could be, and yet how sweet it could become when she refused to quit. She opened her laptop and stared at the blank screen, the cursor blinking back at her like a heartbeat, waiting for her to start. She remembered the first idea that had come to her like a whisper in the night, a vision of building something of her own, something that mattered, something that could change not just her life, but the lives of others. She thought of all the doors that had closed in her face, the jobs she had been denied, the opportunities she had been told she was not ready for, the people who had laughed at her ambition, and she let it all fuel her determination. She typed her first emails, reaching out to strangers, hoping someone would believe in her vision. Each no she received stung like a tiny dagger, but instead of stopping, she learned to carry it with her, to turn it into armor, to let it remind her that she was fighting for something real. She faced nights of doubt, nights when the apartment felt colder than the world outside, nights when loneliness wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She questioned herself, sometimes wondering if she was chasing something too big, too impossible, too far away, and yet she never gave up. She reminded herself why she had started, the dream, the vision, the fire that refused to die. She planned, she strategized, she learned from mistakes, each failure teaching her lessons. No school ever could. She faced moments when money ran low and hunger and exhaustion threatened to stop her. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, yet she rose each time, stronger, wiser, more determined. She remembered the first small success, the first client who said yes, the first moment when she realized that people could believe in her just as much as she believed in herself. She smiled at that memory, feeling the warmth of hope spread through her like sunlight through clouds. She built slowly a team of people who shared her vision, people who believed not just in the business, but in her, in the person who dared to dream when everyone else doubted. They worked long hours, they celebrated small victories, they faced setbacks together, and learned to rise every time they fell. She remembered the moments of frustration, the nights she questioned if it was worth it, the days when every obstacle seemed insurmountable, the competitors who laughed at her, the clients who doubted her, the contracts that fell through, the money that never seemed enough. Yet through it all she carried courage, courage born from pain, from struggle, from refusing to quit, courage that became the backbone of her journey, courage that built a company, courage that touched lives, courage that proved that determination could move mountains. And she faced challenges she had never imagined, dealing with problems she had no roadmap for, negotiating deals, learning skills on the fly, making decisions that could make or break everything she had worked for. She remembered mentors who had guided her, sometimes gently, sometimes harshly, teaching her lessons about leadership, resilience, and vision. She reflected on her own growth, the woman she had been when she started and the woman she was becoming, stronger, wiser, more confident, capable of taking on the world. She remembered sacrifices she had made, the friendships she had neglected, the nights she had spent alone focusing on a dream that seemed intangible, yet she never regretted a single moment, because each step had brought her closer to the life she had envisioned. She faced moments of doubt when everything seemed lost, but she reminded herself of the small wins, the emails that finally got responses, the clients who had trusted her, the team that believed in her, and she pressed on. She expanded her business, reaching cities she had never imagined, visiting, meeting people she had never imagined meeting, pitching ideas that scared her to the core, yet she spoke with confidence, with passion, with a fire that could not be contained. She faced criticism, she faced rejection, she faced moments when giving up seemed like the easiest choice, but she never allowed it to define her. She remembered the faces of those who said she could not, and she smiled because she had proven them wrong, not to boast, but to show that persistence, courage, and belief could transform dreams into reality. She became a CEO not because it was easy, but because she dared to start, dared to continue, dared to believe even when the path was unclear. She became a beacon of hope for every woman who had been told she could not. She became a living proof that dreams are valid, that courage is contagious, that determination can create empires. She reflected on her journey, the girl who had nothing inside a tiny apartment, dreaming of a future that seemed impossible, now standing at the helm of a company that touched lives, that inspired others, that created opportunities. And she felt gratitude for the struggle, the failures, The loneliness, the tears, because they had all forged her into the person she was today. She looked to the future knowing the journey was far from over. Every challenge, every setback, every new goal was another chapter waiting to be written, and she embraced it with open arms and a full heart, knowing that life was not about perfection, but about persistence, about courage, about dreaming bigger than fear. And she whispered to herself softly yet firmly that she would never stop, that she would continue to rise, to continue to dream, to continue to build, to continue to inspire. And as the sun rose outside her window, she rose too, ready to face another day, another challenge, another step in the incredible story that was hers and hers alone.